Hey, sweet faces. This week we are talking about area and circumference of circles. And before we jump in, can we just take a moment to appreciate that we are talking about the area and circumference of circles on the week of Pi Day? That's right, this Tuesday is March 14th or 3.14. All right. Enough about that. Let's dive in. We are going to identify what's labeled or label the part that is circled. So these sides have their own different directions. So what is the point from B to R? That is the radius because it is half the circle. This P to M would be the diameter and S is the center. Coming over here, if I want to do a radius is half going from the center, and the diameter is the whole length. Any questions on these kiddos? Bring them with you to class. They should have been pretty easy. All right, fill in the blanks. Radius and diameter. Remember, radius is half, diameter is whole. So what is the radius? Half of 2 is 1 centimeter. The diameter would be 2 centimeters. Again, radius is half, which is labeled. So our radius is 4 inches. We double it for the diameter. It's 8 inches. We have a 16-meter diameter. Cut it in half. 8 meters would be our radius. We have a 9-yard radius. Double it for diameter. 18 yards. We have a 20-kilometer diameter. Half that. 10 kilometers for the radius. And here we have a 13-foot radius, double it, 26-foot diameter. Questions on these, my little nuggets? Bring them with you to class. Into the equations. We are finding the circumference. As a reminder, we can do that with 2 different measures. We can do pi times d, or we can do 2 pi r. So if we have the diameter, we can use c equals pi times d. If we have the radius, we can use c equals 2 pi r. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to label which formula we are going to use with these. And as noted on the top, for pi, we're using 3.14. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can use pi. And what I mean by that is we can either do 22 divided by 7. If you have a special calculator with a pi button, you can use that. Sorry, I lost the ability to talk and work at the same time. C equals 2 pi r. Okay, so I can do 22 divided by 7. I can use the pi button if I have one on my calculator, or I can use 3.14. For our purposes, we're going to use 3.14 because I want our answers to match, and I want you to be able to check them in that way. So our formula looks like this. Pi 3.14 times the diameter, which is 8, you should get 24.12 centimeters. Over here, 2 times 3.14 times 5, you should be plugging these into your calculator. I get 31.4 inches. Here I have 2 times 3.14 times 11. That's going to give me 69.08 or 69 1/800 yards. Here I have 3.14 times the diameter of 12. That gives me 37.68 meters. I'm doing 3.14 times 14, gives me 43.96 kilometers. And 2 times 3.14 times 7 gives me 43.96 feet. Any questions on these or how to plug them into your calculator, please bring them with you to class. All right, my little chicky nuggets, we're continuing our exploration. This time we're doing area. Area has one formula. Area equals pi r squared. That's it. That's the one. So if we are given the radius, perfect. If we're given the diameter, we have to cut it in half. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to fill in my formula because we're going to use the same thing for all of these. Pi r squared, pi r squared. Now this one, I personally think is the easiest for you to make errors putting it into the calculator because of the square. So what I suggest is if you have just a traditional calculator, what I want you to do is I want you to start with the radius. The beautiful thing about multiplication is we could do it in any order and we're still going to get the same answer. So for this one, let's look at it. We have 3.14. It gave me the diameter, so I'm going to cut that in half. So I'm going to do 5 squared. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 5 squared into my calculator first. 5 times 5 is 25. Then I'm going to multiply it out. When I do that, I get 78.5 centimeters. So if you don't have a graphing calculator, which you don't need by any means, just do this number times itself. 5 times 5 is my square, okay? And then multiply it by pi. This one I have the radius, so I'm doing 3.14 times 3 squared. 3 squared is 9, so 3.14 times 9 gives me 28.26 inches. Here again, I have the radius. Radius is half. So 3.14 times 15 squared. 15 squared gives me 225. When I put that into my calculator, I get 706.5 yards. Over here, I am given the diameter, so I have to cut it in half. So 3.14, half of 18 is 9 squared. 9 squared is 81. 3.14 times 81 gives me 254.34 meters. Here they gave me the diameter, so make sure you split it. 3.14, half of 6 is 3 squared. 3.14, 3 times 3 is 9. Gives me 28.26 kilometers. Last one, they gave me the radius. So 3.14 times 19 squared. When I do 19 squared, make sure you do 19 times 19, not 19 times 2. This becomes 3.14 times 361. It's a big one. This leaves you with 1,133.54 feet. Any questions on these, kiddos? Bring them with you to class. Sorry, kiddos, I'm doing a little bit of a cold here. All right, a soup can has a radius of 2 inches. What is the circumference? Between these, we're looking at area and circumference. So as a reminder, if you didn't have your printable or you didn't write these down, because remember, I'm making you beautiful notes pages. Well, beautiful is perceptive. Helpful note pages with these beautiful formulas on them. All right, so make sure you're choosing the right formula before you move forward. I'm looking for the circumference and they gave me the radius. So I'm going to use circumference equals 2 pi r. Circumference equals 2 times 3.14 with a radius of 2. When I multiply those together, I get 12.56 inches. So again, 3.14 times 2 times 2. You can do it in any order because that's the beautiful thing about multiplication. Over here, I'm looking for the area and they gave me the radius. So area equals pi r squared. They gave me the radius, so I plug it in. 3.14 times 7 squared. Remember to square it first. 3.14 times 49. When I do that, I get the area being equal to 153.86 meters. All right, I want the area, but they gave me the diameter. Area equals pi r squared. Area equals 3.14 r, which means cut this in half, 2 squared. 2 squared is 4, so 3.14 times 4. Area equals 12.56 feet squared. Over here, jacuzzi has a diameter of 8 feet. What is the circumference? Circumference equals, with the diameter, pi times diameter. Circumference equals 3.14 times 8. Circumference is equal to 25.12 feet. Coming down here, I want the area. Remember, area only has one equation, pi r squared. They're giving me the radius, so I can plug it right in. 3.14 times 10 squared. 10 squared is 100. And I can use my base 10 knowledge if I wanted to, because I would just bump this over. So 3.14 times 100, area equals 314. Any questions on this one? Bring it with you to class. Oh, we have one more. Never mind. Just kidding. Don't bring questions yet. Circumference. Circumference with the radius. So circumference equals 2 pi times the radius. Circumference equals 3.14 times 5. So I'm going to plug those in. And I get 2 times 3.14 times 5 gives me a circumference of 31.4 centimeters. Now, any questions? Bring them with you to class. Have a good weekend, kiddos.